hands in the air. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand, say a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Hand in hand, side by side, with hearts open wide. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Help others find their way. Create heaven here today. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Raise your hands in the air. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand. Sing a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. In times like these we need to remember what is real. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. United in our quest to spread love and happiness. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Hey Rama Rama Bolo, Jai Rama Rama Bolo. Hey Rama Rama Bolo, Sita Ram. Shri Rama Rama Bolo, Shri Rama Rama Bolo. Hey Rama Rama Bolo, Sita Ram. Once again, welcome to this foundation training in energy medicine and somatic emotional clearing. Today we will first focus on mantra yoga, and then we'll talk about some safety agreements and have a check-in and give everyone an opportunity to express their intention. And then I'll continue to talk about the theory, because I'll be introducing that in mantra yoga, and I'll do a hands-on demonstration. There'll be a break for fruit salad, I believe, at some point, or fruit at some point in the morning. And then around 11:30, we'll break for lunch, take an hour. It'll be prepared here, presented to us here, fortunately. And then in the afternoon, we'll give and receive an energy balancing session, have another check-in, and get you on the road in time to pick up your kids at school or be on the school bus, whatever we need to do. And we have a white-winged dove blessing us this morning, sharing her space with us. Since other people have joined the group, let's once again chant the mystical syllable Om. Deep breath. Thank you for the privilege of being with you as a teacher this morning. I was saying that a lot of the wisdom that I'm sharing with you comes from the ancient wisdom of India. I I've been visiting India since 1970, 71, every year virtually, trying to comprehend what they have to offer there. I want to say that, first of all, anything I'm sharing here is done with a deep respect for how unique each person's spiritual journey is, and how unique our experience and how unique our vocabulary. So I please invite you to just be open, and please ask questions so that I can make as clear as possible the kinds of things that I'm trying to share. I'm only going to be talking about one thing all weekend, which is the unity and divinity of all life. Okay, that's all I'm going to be talking about, is the sacredness of all life, the sacredness of your life. And I'll be approaching that in many ways, and everything that I'm saying will be a piece of that puzzle, helping you in your own journey of self-realization. The wisdom that we're sharing comes from a philosophy called Sankhya. And Sankhya is said to be the root of all Oriental philosophy. If you study yoga, they'll tell you its roots are in Sankhya. And if you turn to the first Sankhya text, it says the purpose of this knowledge is not the love of learning, like European philosophy. Not, of course, to get a better job, like we learn today. But the purpose of this body of knowledge and the efforts that we're all involved in is, listen to this. This is the translation of the first verse. The total, the permanent, the complete annihilation of suffering. That the purpose of this body of knowledge and the purpose of this journey of yoga philosophy in general is the annihilation of suffering. Now, this word dukkha, which is translated as suffering, simply means a bad state. But it's very interesting because in Thailand it's translated as alienation. In Tibet it's translated as disenchantment. And this dukkha, this suffering, is said to be the suffering that you are experiencing in your biography and throughout life. It's said is not biographical, it's not psychological. The suffering that you experience, that we're all involved in this attempt to unwind our psychology or understand or conquer our biology. We all have this story of our suffering. It's said that the cause of this suffering is ignorance of our own inherent divinity. And the cure for this suffering is yoga. And it promises, through a method that has been demonstrated and proven over thousands and thousands of years, a method whose efficacy has been proven over thousands of years, that it can totally, completely, and permanently annihilate your suffering. Okay. So that's what we're here. We're addressing this guilt, this insecurity, this anxiety, this fear, this never being good enough, this living on the edge of an abyss. However you experience this existential dilemma, which is so in our face in this human condition. So that's the foundation of what we're doing here. Welcome, thank you. Deep breath. So fortunately, we stand on the shoulder of these sages who for thousands of years, Indian history is not about kings, not about conquerors. Indian history is about sages who've conquered this mystery of life, okay? So we begin this journey together with mantra yoga. Mantra comes from the same same roots as manas, of man or woman, which mean mind. And mantra yoga means a vehicle for for working with the mental instrument and refining the mental instrument for yoga, union with our own inherent divinity. As I mentioned before, there's no musical instrument in this world as profound as your voice, both for what we can express through the voice and also because the voice is an interdimensional portal, that the harmonics and the overtones, allow you to commune with an essence. In essence, it's right here. We live in an ocean of life. We live in an ocean of life. Many, many years ago, I sat in the garden with this sage and I asked her, I said, how can I see God in everyone? How can I see God in everything? And she said that God is life. And I've been contemplating that for the last 10, 15 years since I met her. She turns out she was a physicist, the dean of our college, and had retired to this ashram, this place of aspiration. And when the master had died, they'd invited her to lead them. So when I say to you that here it is, right here we live like fish in this ocean of life, and fish is often a symbol of ignorance. That we live in this ocean of life, that this divinity that we're seeking is right here in this very, very breath of life. That we live immersed in divinity, that's as close as your very breath. So Indian philosophy is rooted in first of all, it's a very personal journey of self-realization. It's not like in the West, religion is about believing, having faith. Asian philosophy is about dharma, practice and experience. It's inviting you into a practice and the experience that is the fruit of that practice. So the practice this morning is mantra yoga, and your own experience that arises through this practice is the fruit of your efforts. So I've said that your voice is the personification of the holy word, the very root of this mystery of this creation. That your voice personifies whatever is involved in the mystery of that holy word as a root of this creation. Indian philosophy begins with a term Brahman. And Brahman refers to being. Okay, and Brahman is being, consciousness, and bliss. So the fact that you are conscious indicates that you are Brahman. Do you hear that? The fact that you are conscious indicates that Brahman is all pervasive, everywhere, always, eternal, forever and ever. So the fact that you are conscious indicates you are part of this unity called Brahman, or being. Now your bodies and your karma are fruit and flower on this mystery of eternal life, okay? But the life inside of us is unborn, undying, everywhere, always, eternal, forever and ever. And we call that life Brahman. And Brahman is beyond any description, but is being. And the other side of that Tamale being is consciousness. And the fact is, the quality of Brahman is lucidity, presence. That when you're in this eternal present, the quality of Brahman is bliss. So this is your inherent nature, being, consciousness, and the ecstasy of being in this eternal moment. Okay. Now Brahman is beyond any quality. And somehow Brahman, and I'll show you some illustrations as we go on that will just show you how simple this thing we're calling consciousness is on some level, at the speed of light. But the active expression of Brahman is Brahma, which is this breath of life. So in this understanding, the universe is the living, breathing, conscious being, and everything that moves is the life breath of this one living universe. So right now, Brahman is this life, and this life is unfolding its creative potency through you. Okay, and every moment life is breathing you, expressing the creative potency of life. Do you hear that? You're not breathing. Life is breathing you, that you are the face of life. You are the cutting edge of the unfolding of the creative potency of the evolution of the universe. You are the cutting edge of the unfolding of the creative potential of the universe. You are the face of the evolution of the cosmos. You are the face of the goddess. You are the face of God, as is everyone and everything else. Deep breath. So relax.
It's all okay.
It's all okay. Now, each of us personifies an instant of this mystery. Each of us personifies an instant of the unfolding of the cosmos, that you personify that moment of where the zodiac was when you took your first breath, in that place in the cosmos. So that if you're born when Taurus is on the horizon, you're the Toyota of humanity. Practical, grounded, you can do anything, never break down. If you're born 4 hours later when the earth is facing Cancer, you're very vulnerable, very sensitive, you live in the realm of feeling, you're much higher maintenance, you're very... Okay. But it's not just that, it's just you personify the totality of the cosmos in that moment. And that your dharma will be the unfolding of those forces, those cosmic forces, as they interact, as you are the signature of that moment of the cosmos, the personification of that. And your dharma, your place in this creation, is to be fully present for the experience of your instant. Do you hear that? So that your life's journey is to be as deeply present as possible for the unique person, the personification, the unique personality, the unique expression and personhood of the divinity that you are. Now, for us, one of the more significant parts of this is that each of us is made of goddess. Each of us is made of the same thing as dewdrops and rainbows and babies and flowers. That we're incredible. Sentience is total. Sentience is profoundly deep. Sentience is molecular. Our capacity to feel that we've come here on a journey of presence in the profound vulnerability and sensitivity of this condition, of this human condition. So I'm saying that your vulnerability is sacred, and that your holy work is to learn to be safe to be you, safe to be vulnerable, to respect your tenderness, to respect your delicacy, to respect and to cherish your vulnerability. You know, I grew up with people telling me, you're too sensitive. Or many of us, we've learned to just fall apart, collapse in our sensitivity. So a profound gift of this wisdom is to understand every element of your persona is sacred, and our own journey, and this journey of maturation and this journey of destiny is to this vulnerability is not going to go away. The sensitivity isn't going to go away, but you mature in the resources that you have for handling this gift of you. Great. Is everybody pretty much with me? Okay, great. Yes, please.
One thing that you brought up,
yes.
It's sorted in my mind. So my understanding of what you said was that when we are born, we're essentially embodying the belief systems of the collective in that moment, or
it's much, much deeper than that. The everything is consciousness. Mm-hmm. And not merely the zodiac, but the whole cosmos is this one living being of Brahman. And that you embody that moment in the evolution of the cosmos, that you personify these cosmic forces. So let's say if you're, so your astrology is the map of that journey and the way the forces interact in your destiny. So it's much deeper than just our beliefs. It has to do with these archetypal forces, these cosmic forces, this play of, it's called the order of creation, and it's in every cycle of the breath. There's a unitive consciousness. There's this one life, one consciousness in every element of the breath. One of the things I was going to do with the kids was teach toe reading, and your toes are the most crystallized expression of this consciousness. So as I introduced that, I said, now you're familiar with auricular therapy, where you have the whole fetus on the ear, or maybe you've gone to a colon therapist who shows you all the reflexes on the colon. You've seen it on the foot or the hand or the tongue. I have a chart of the reflexes to the face. What you're looking at here is not the body, but the universe and the expression of that oneness, of the oneness of breath in everyone and everything. We'll probably have a little time to go into that as we go on. So we begin this morning with an invocation of the goddess Saraswati. Saraswati means essence of self, okay, that this goddess, okay, so we're looking at East Indian iconography, and the iconography is a vehicle in a largely pre-literate society. This iconography is like an encyclopedia, that you're meant to go to the temple, and I don't know how familiar you are with Indian temples, but every inch is filled up with images of gods and goddesses and dioramas of these important legends, okay? And you're meant to go there with your grandmother or your grandfather or an uncle or an aunt who explain, tell you these legends and hopefully can tell you some of the meaning of this. So let's talk about this iconography of the goddess Saraswati, essence of self. Whenever you see an Indian goddess and she's on a swan, a goose, or a peacock, swan or goose usually, occasionally a peacock, that is the goddess Saraswati, that the swan or the goose is her vehicle. Now the word for swan in Sanskrit is Hansa, and it's a play on words for the breath, because the natural mantra of the breath is Soham, Soham. So the vehicle of the essence of self is the breath. And the goose or the swan is also considered to be the highest flying bird, that these great tundra swans fly over India on their way to Africa at the height of a 747, at 35,000 feet, at like 15,000 meters. So that the breath is considered the highest flying swan, the Paramahansa, the supreme principle. So the supreme principle of our philosophy is the power of the breath. And the vehicle of the goddess within you, the vehicle of this intelligence, who we call essence of self, this creative intelligence, is the swan of the breath, okay? So in our philosophy, the supreme principle is this breath of life, this sacred and mysterious and immediate breath of life. So Saraswati is the Shakti, the power, the feminine aspect of Brahma, the breath of life. The masculine principles are very subtle, and the feminine principles are filled with manifest power and Shakti and are here in this dimension that we are, okay? The masculine principles are usually very abstract, while the feminine manifests as nature, okay? So, Saraswati, essence of self, describes as intelligence, whose vehicle is the breath, who is the essence of yourself in this moment. She is this intelligence who's riding on the swan of the breath, and in each moment she is manifesting or reflecting the creative potential of the cosmos through you and I. Now she's playing a veena. What is this veena that the breath plays? What is this flute that Krishna plays? The veena that she is playing is this. The breath plays this veena of the body. Musical instruments traditionally were made of guts and hides.
The Latin word for breath is spiritus. It comes from the same roots as our word spiral. It is spiritus that plays the instrument of nature. All of nature is alive. All of nature is breathing. As we breathe, the tissue of our bodies is stretched by the act of breathing in a cycle of attunement to nature and the cosmos. On cellular and molecular levels, the tissues stretches to modulate its musical pitch. As we breathe in, there is a lengthening of the tissue to the keynote of resonance that cross-culturally and transhistorically the ancients called the air element. Thus, through attunement to the keynote air, life force stepped down from the subtle universal elements into embodiment. Then in quantum fashion, the inhalation ballooned the tissue into the radiant keynote of the creative potency of the solar fire element. Next in the cycle of breath is a still point where inner and outer forces come into balance as the earth element. Then, as the diaphragm descends, the tissue contracts into resonance with the lunar keynote of the water element. Nature is a fabric of ultrasonic resonance, attuned to the keynotes of earth, solidity, water, the fluid medium for life force, fire, the functioning of creative intelligence, air, the feedback process, which is the essence of intelligence, and ether, which modulates sacred space between the subtle, universal elements of the cosmos and the material elements of nature. All of nature is vibrating in a life-giving state of praise, attuned to the voice of the goddess Saraswati, singing the holy word, singing the music of creation. This understanding of the relationship between the breath and attunement to the elemental keynotes of resonance is the key to understanding energy in the healing arts.
And this breath in each moment is playing this body, that in each moment of this universe, of this music of creation, in each moment, the bodies we breathe in the macrocosm of the body, and in every atom, the body as a musical instrument, the guts and hide come into a keynote of entrainment, first of all, called Safa Guna, with the soul, with being, the force. Sat means being, the Father, truth. Okay? So as we breathe, the body is taken through a process of attunement to nature and the cosmos. So as we begin to breathe in the macrocosm and right down to the atoms, there's a process of elongation, which changes the attunement of this tissue to an inner attunement of soul communion to being, to the life force. Do you hear that? That first is an attunement to life essence, the Safa Guna. The word guna, which is usually translated as quality, come from roots which mean a giri, which means vortex, field. So Sattvic field is a field that's come into entrainment and a still point with the soul force. and it is the source of equilibrium and the source of the organization of the field. That is, we breathe inspiration with the spiritus, which is Latin for breath, inspiration. This mortal coil takes us into attunement with the universe, okay? Universe means attuned to one coil. As we inspiration, the spiral expands into rajas, an attunement with the solar force. And the body, again, there's a still point where we open to the solar force and we embody the yang energy of fire. And then the energy drops as we expiration into a lunar attunement. So each breath is a process of attunement to the cosmos and attunement to the fundamental forces of yang, fire, yin, water, of sky and earth, of father and mother. So in each moment, you hear how profound this breathing is, how it breathes life, it spirals life into every atom of the body. This mystery of how does spiritus, how does this incredible breath of life spiral from the macrocosm, from the oneness, and down into to sustain the incredible organization of every atom of this body. We'll show you how that works a little later in the game. But you get that in each breath, where the body which has been created by this breath, by this ultrasonic breath, and this pattern of attunement to these cosmic and natural forces of Sattva, soul communion, the organizing intelligence of the cosmos, Rajas, inspiration, where we become the vehicle for the fire of creation. And then the lunar, the embodiment, the expiration, coming into crystallization, all the wisdom and intelligence and beauty of the feminine. We give birth in the water. So in every moment, you are life breathing you through a process of natural and cosmic attunement. So cross-culturally and transhistorically, the science of the ancients was based on this vibrational model. We're talking about yang and yin. We're talking about the 5 elements. We're talking about rajas and tamas. So we're taking you into the wisdom of the ancients, the wisdom that was destroyed when they burned the libraries in Alexandria, the wisdom that was destroyed when they, mutilated the priests and priestesses everywhere in the world, imperialism in the church. So fortunately in India, this culture, they say when the East India Company came to India and conquered it, they only conquered the men, they didn't conquer the women. They were only interested in their greed. They weren't quite as evil as the church was. And so this wisdom was carried on by the women in their home, teaching what their mothers and grandmothers had taught them with a tremendous integrity. Thoughts or questions? I should probably take a deep breath.
So is this centering at the heart and coming up? So that coiling is coming in both directions? Okay.
Yes. You want to understand that our heart shape is this yang and yin energy pattern. It's not a hallmark card. It's a natural radiance of rajas and then the contraction of tamas. And this energy, this intelligence, this pure intelligence is always balanced. So that if this is heart, rajas, tamas, this is also sacrum, heart, rajas, buttocks, and then tamas holding up the occiput here. It's the opposite. So this is yang, if this is yang, that is yin, yang, yin. Okay, there's always a profound balance between solar and lunar, between front and back. That the energy is always profoundly, profoundly balanced. So we begin our class with an invocation of this goddess who rules wisdom, who rules learning, who rules the kind of effort that we have here. And these are bija mantras. Bijas are seeds, and these are vibrational quintessences, vibrational essences, the seeds of this manifestation. So, of course, we begin with Om, which is the holy word. Om is the ground state out of which everything emerges. Aim is the feminine aspect of Om. So Aim is the feminine aspect of Om. The Shakti takes that power of Om and brings it into a more manifest form. Shrim is the power, is the grace of the goddess, is beauty and light and power and magnetism. And Harim goes into that, goes into passion, the power, the desire that lies at the heart of so much of our lives. We're constantly desiring our life as a reflection of our desire. So the goddess given power to want peace, to desire peace in your family, peace in your world, and the passion of that desire for peace on this earth, peace in our families or with our loves. Okay? So that's Harim, the passion of our desire for however we, and then through this essence of ourself, this inherent divinity, the powers of the holy word. Devi is a being of consciousness, which we are. And Namaha, I surrender. I honor, I surrender, I understand all this is a gift. None of this is mine. Before we go on, I forgot to give you a warning. I didn't grow up in this culture. I don't speak the languages. So I offer this to you with a tremendous horizon of ignorance. So you may have other teachers that have taught you this in different ways or revealed different aspects of it. Please understand, I've always been too lazy. Actually, I've only been focused on one thing, my suffering and getting out of that suffering. And so I haven't bothered to learn the language. I didn't think that was going to help me in my ignorance, in spite of a half century in that amazing, amazing culture. But so I offer you, whatever I'm offering you is based on my contemplation. I claim not to be in any lineage, and I don't claim to, I'm just saying it happens against a great horizon of ignorance. So I apologize for my ignorance, and we'll just have to go on and do the best we can with what we got. Okay, so we are talking about a quality within yourself, your inherent divinity, and we're using these icons to focus on our own inherent divinity and to cultivate our own goddess. Really understand them. You know, these icons are handles for getting in touch with your goddess and saying and reminding you who you are and cultivating your own wisdom and power and gifts. Okay. So we're going to be beginning with a mantra to an invocation. So again, you already have these qualities in your consciousness. You already are everything that we're invoking. It's just a matter of your conjuring them up from the cauldron of who you are, okay? So you're not seeking anything outside of yourself. Okay. So we will be singing with a saint, Karunama, Mother of Compassion, because my Sanskrit is jaundiced with a New Jersey accent. So we'll be chanting with her because she has grown up in the culture and would give us the correct inflection. So let's hear how this goes. We'll be chanting this 28 times, Om, Aim, Shreem, Him. And it's good to chant as loudly as you can, sending that purifying resonance into every atom of your body, sending it into your heart. And there's a rhythm to the chanting, of chanting loud, and then a period of listening. And the listening, so there'll be heart chanting, and then there'll be listening. And that's a chance for you to tune into the subtle overtones of emptiness, of the immediacy of the mystery, and the subtle overtones between this dimension and the higher dimension, which is right here in the breath. The higher dimension is right here in the breath. And your breath and these sounds are an interdimensional portal for communing with this higher dimension. So the silence, some say, is more important than the sound. So we're chanting loud, and then we're also listening with great focus.
Saraswati Devi Namaha. Om Aim Shreem Hreem 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 Sar
Let's turn within and commune with the coherence that we've cultivated through this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May peace, may peace, may peace and justice prevail on our beloved Mother Earth. We dedicate our efforts on the screen, we dedicate our efforts to a vision of a springtime of humanity, where all humanity makes a leap in consciousness and realizes the unity and divinity of all life, where we cherish our Mother Earth as our own dear mother and share with each other as brothers and sisters for all our relations. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you for your focus and concentration. A question or two, and then we'll take a short break.
Raise your
Hands in the air. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand. Say a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive.
hand in hand, side by side,
with
hearts open wide.
Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Help others find the way. Create heaven here today. Stay strong and keep your faith alive.
Raise your hands in the air.
Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand. Sing a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive.
In times like these we need to
remember what is real. Stay strong and keep your faith alive.
united in our quest to spread love and happiness.
Stay strong and keep your faith alive.